All right, everybody, thanks for coming to this special 5th edition of the Head-to-Head 10 Talkbacks. Now, this round was a roller coaster in many ways, and I'm really, really, really excited to get the story behind all of these parks, because, damn, it all hotted up this round. Before we kick off, I'll just do the regular thing that I always say. Try not to break any rules on the stream, obviously, but you're all really good with that. So without further ado, I would like to hand over the reins to the one and the only Alex to talk about Old Smokey's Showboat. Give us a bit of the story. How did this idea come to life, and what was the process like?
So I pitched it like more or less at the beginning as, let's do a like turn of the century amusement park, but on a boat. So kind of like a classic boardwalk park, but then instead of like a pier or a boardwalk, it would be a moving steamboat. And already kind of at that time, I envisaged like it could be cool to have like this wooden coaster that's sort of wrapping around it, because the kind of shape of these sort of semicircular turnarounds, it has some kind of shared geometry with like the kind of different decks of a boat. So I thought that would be like a nice thing to combine. And yeah, like I also had this cool idea that we could try to make the boat move by having like a moving backdrop or some kind of effects with the water. And yeah, that I really had no idea how to approach, because I'm not really a kind of someone who does a lot of tricks with like CTR stuff or this kind of thing. So I was sort of like, when I pitched it, it was really just like, oh, I have this cool idea, but I actually have no idea how to go about executing it. But after round 1 was finished, I was quite excited to get it moving. I don't know. It was pretty smooth, but like, it was did feel like time-wise quite tight at the end, just because it felt like there was so much to do to like flesh out all the interiors. And I don't know. It felt, because like the whole thing, because you can just like go to any cutaway level, there's like nowhere to really like hide with detailing. So it always felt like I don't know, just a very big task at the end to get everything looking kind of polished, you know?
I can imagine that really being the case. I can imagine, because we got a few things going on here. First of all, did you end up using the entirety of the allotted tiles?
Yeah, I think it's like I don't know, like 30 by 90 or something rectangle, or whatever it is. It's it's basically on the limit, I think.
Yeah, because we get 3,600 tiles, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
And to the sort of like untrained eye, we might look at that and think, oh, well, you're only using, let's say, 3/5 of that allotted like tile space, inverted commas. But when you actually like math it out in terms of like all the layers that it has in it, it is a very content heavy. It's certainly not one of the content light maps in head-to-head history. You know what I mean? So it wasn't really. I can't imagine you guys going into this and thinking, oh, we found a cheat code to like do less work.
No, not at all. I mean, like I knew when I pitched it that like, even though I'm not someone who really enjoys doing interiors, I knew that we'd kind of have to do it because, yeah, as exterior only, I don't think there is enough there for a head-to-head park. But then, yeah, it's really there's a lot packed in there, and I think like for sure it's the most challenging park I've made in head-to-head because I'm usually, I don't know, I guess I'm so used to doing stuff which is like more naturalistic somehow, or like where you're using landscaping and foliage and you kind of have a lot more yeah, I don't know, like kind of buffer tools, stuff that isn't necessarily content but is like good for like carving out scenes and kind of guiding the eye a bit.
Yeah.
And with this, there isn't, yes, you know, I suppose you could say the water is, but then there's no.
The water is like intensely like effort. Like there's a lot of effort gone into the water as well to get the effect that's there.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you bring up foliage, though we have those little bits at the edges which move by, which really sell the sort of movement of the map, which we can move on to in a second because I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But like in terms of foliage on like a conventional map, a map with foliage, we've had a couple of maps which haven't had foliage this contest, but it really sort of highlights the role that foliage has in the build process. Something that, for the most part, I feel like a lot of us take for granted in a good way because it's always there for us to depend on. It's a visual language that's easy to understand. And the moment you take that away, suddenly the ante goes up in terms of being able to sell an idea. So there is foliage on this map. There's stuff dotted around, obviously. Just little... there's like bits of like moss and stuff. But significantly, there's these custom tracked rides which just chug along in order to sell the idea that it's moving along. And what's more, I wonder what's the best way to do this. If we get rid of some of the scenery, we can see that there's a lot of like track underneath which is controlling all of these things. I can imagine that being this log just reminds me of Frogger every time I see it. I just want to jump onto it. I can imagine this being an extremely time intensive, like iterative process to try and get it all looking how you want it to look. Was that a difficult process, or was it easy to sort of visualize to begin with and then execute?
Yeah, it was pretty challenging, to be honest. Yeah, Coco was very helpful in making the actual CTR objects, the trains. And then I made these like animated like wave pieces. And that was quite a lot of trial and error. Like we tried a few different things for how we could make the best sort of flow. It was also for both of us learning how to actually make animated objects, because it's not the most like intuitive thing, let's say. And there's kind of a limitation on like the frame rate of them. Like you can make it, you can add more frames, but then you can't, it automatically becomes very fast. So there's no way to have them like move smoothly, but at a controlled pace. So that was kind of, anyway, this is maybe a bit too technical, but
no, this is what the stream's for.
Was quite annoying. And then, a lot of the time it was just like, just putting down a bunch of different kind of splash effects and seeing like what kind of merged well together. There's also like underneath everything, like a kind of carpet of moving water, DTR, like really like, which is actually kind of under the water. Yeah. So this is also giving like quite a subtle effect of everything moving. Yeah.
I've just got a question in terms of like you've got these. There's a lot that's, you open it up and you look at it and think, oh, the boat goes, forward, but like the amount of technical stuff, like what you were saying with like the animated objects. These splashes which go in sequence, was that a case of you going in and tile inspector and like changing its?
No, that's how they are by default, and that was like a really satisfying thing to work with, because it's quite like old technology. Let's say that the animated objects have this kind of like grid of their sequence on the map.
Really?
Yeah. So that's also why the smoke behaves in a certain way as well, and that was just a case of like making another object which had a different timing so that we could make it a bit more dense looking.
See, that's the technical stuff that we're here for. I've just learned something.
Yeah. No, it was really nice to actually use animated objects in these instances rather than tracked rides, because it's also just like way more fun to just plop an object down rather than have to build tracks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I always get very intimidated by like when you see people going, here's a simple solution for making a like custom flat ride, and there's just an absolute like tangle of track hidden underground, and I'm like, this is a bit above my pay grade. I'm not smart enough for all of this stuff. What would you say, I think I know the answer to this, what would you say was the biggest challenge in sort of bringing this idea to life, and why was it the interiors?
It was.
I don't want to speak for you, but I can imagine that was a huge undertaking.
I think maybe like the planning first of all, or like I think it's just a case of like designing it in such a way that everything stays kind of legible. Is quite challenging, because it's like, it's so dense. So I was really keen for it not to be sort of like too much visually, or for anything to be like slightly messy. Like I knew that it would have to be very clean for it to sort of have the impact. And I think like I don't know. I guess I just found the interiors difficult because it's not something that I do a lot. So that was the main thing. But I think second to that, it was like testing out all the different effects. Like not only the water and the motion, but also like coming up with something convincing for like the engine room to make this like steam engine. That was quite...
just before we look at the engine room, I've just spotted that you use that like that butterfly object for the roulette wheel. That's genius.
Yeah, that was hoobaroo's work. It's very clever. Yeah.
And this engine room has been correctly highlighted time and time again as just, I'd describe it as an example of a bunch of stuff that's really simple in principle. You just have to be the person that has the brainwave to bring it to life, to be like the legend who pulls it off. Because these are all just stuff that's in like the base game. This is strictly base game. It's got like the genie taken off it, hasn't it? Like the flying carpet thing.
But something like this, it's not just like some sort of like genius vision of like, oh, I know what will work for that. It'll be these objects. It's literally like off map. I just try like every possible flat ride and see like what has a kind of motion, or like I tried like a lot of stuff with roller coaster trains moving like back and forth, trying to get some sort of like piston effect. But then in the end it was just a case of like lining these up and hiding the actual base thing that made it look like these moving arms.
Well,
But yeah, I was really sorry. Yeah, I was pretty satisfied with how it came off because it was something that from the beginning I was pretty doubtful that I was like, I just had no idea like how the fuck I'm gonna make something that looks like a convincing steam engine.
Yeah, I can imagine that being like a huge. Was that something that came like worryingly late in the process, or did you get that down pretty quickly? Because I can imagine that being a huge sort of like weight on my mind if I was building this map.
Yeah, somewhere like in the middle. Like it was kind of like whilst I was doing other work on the map, I had these tests at the side, and then sometimes I'd like come back to it and try something else out, and then yeah, it took a while to get there, but yeah. And then most of these dark ride interiors, it's by hoobaroo, and Coupon did the ghost train.
I've just realised that this ride here is that one where you have to try and sit on it and it spins you off. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. So it's like this sort of old Coney Island ride, this human roulette wheel thing.
I remember being there was this place in, for a bit of British geography, there was this place in Blackpool that I remember going to when, for a little British culture, when I was in like Cubs or Scouts or something, and it had one of them in it, and it's a formative memory of just like, I feel like it should kind of be illegal. It seems so dangerous and like these spinning tunnels and stuff. I don't know how people don't break their necks on them all the time. I guess because it's always kids going on them and they're really bendy and never get injured.
Robust.
Yes. They should make it for OAPs. This it's one of those parks where there's just like so much to highlight. The new objects that you made, because you had you were telling me how you had like a very specific problem which needed a solution, and it was sort of selling indoor versus outdoor, which is a problem that seemingly no one had thought to solve before.
Yeah, well, it goes back to this thing of like legibility and trying to keep it really clean and readable. And I thought one thing that would help a lot with that was having like a different color palette for the interior and the exterior. So most of the exterior is like, you know, lighter colors, and then the interior is darker. And then obviously we need some quarter tile pieces which have one texture or one color on one side and one color on the other. And then yeah, I also made these like door pieces to go with that. And yeah, I made some other like stuff for interiors as well, like this kind of wood parquet floor kind of thing. And yeah, what else? I made a lot of like wood, like painted wood deco stuff. So like these fence kind of things where they're a bit shabby, it's because they have like part that you can paint either invisible or paint it brown, or and then there's also like these kind of zigzaggy or triangular wood shapes, and also on like the clown faces at the side you might see them, like on the where like the paddle is. Oh no, actually there I used glass, but yeah, on the sign itself.
Like on the writing.
Yeah. And yeah, well, I think that was it for objects that I made. But yeah. Yeah, but I think like the main goal with it was really to just get this feeling of like lively movement, not just in terms of like that the boat was moving forward, but also with like the tracked rides and sort of all the different scenes and effects. Maybe Hoop can talk a bit about some of the interiors if he's here.
Do we have a hoob?
Can you speak? Oh,
Hello? Hello.
hey.
How we doing?
What's up?
You've been summoned to testify on your involvement in this.
It's true. It's true.
Do you want to talk a bit about the circus or like the ballroom scenes? What you made them?
Yeah, sure. I just I don't know what to say.
Sure you do. So did you have any like source material, or were you was this a freestyle?
There were some reference images that I used, but I feel like most of the time it was just kind of like a starting point. And then from there, you just kind of have to see what's going to look best in game, you know, because like a lot of stuff just isn't going to translate because it's a very specific kind of style that needs to like work and like mesh with everything, you know. So usually like there would be like one or two things that would be like, oh, that looks cool, and then from there I just like build off of that into its own thing, you know.
A lot of the time, it's more about evoking something than it is about like a direct translation.
Yeah.
Gotta get that vibe
Like
across.
like the ballroom, like that for me, I mean, it was like I looked at it in terms of like, you know, like from the viewer's perspective, they're going to be like scouring through this boat and just like looking at all of these rooms. So it's like, how do I make this room like whatever room it was, I was like, how do I make this one like worth looking at over the others, you know, like what's special about this one? Like if there was a room that I was working on, I didn't want there to be any kind of like just uninterested like filler rooms, you know. It's like every room should be like the coolest room
100% effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was why it was so good to have you build on this, because for me, like, I don't have this approach of interiors. For me, it's almost, especially with this, it was like just something that I knew had to be there, but I wasn't so excited about it. Like, I love how the park looks kind of from the macro, and I'm really happy with that. And I love the interiors as well, but it was something that, like, in the process, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not excited.
It was extremely like easy to build on this because like it was just like I didn't have to worry about like any other stuff. It was just like you set a room, you're like, all right, this room's gonna be this, and I'm like, all right, got it, and I just like knock it down. It's like it was just like, you know, I remember like before, you know, like early on the process, like on the team when you were like setting this up, and I was just thinking like, man, like if I could just like get on this would just be like the fastest building process ever. And you know, kind of felt like that for me at least, but yeah.
Nice. That's good.
It takes a team to build a head-to-head park. We say it a million times. Because everyone's got their weak spots, right? You know, if you look at interiors with a sense of trepidation and saying, I love to look at them, but I don't know the first thing about building them. Luckily, there's a hoobaroo around the corner who can sort that out. Who's literally like, you know, chomping at the bit to use the skills to bring it to life.
Yeah, for sure.
And as someone who kind of sucks at macro, hearing someone say, I love doing the macro bit, you know, that's music to my ears as well.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed, like, I did the steam room, the engine room, to be fair, and I did enjoy that. Although Hoobaroo polished it off with some really cool detailing, but yeah, there were some moments where I was like, oh, this is like quite satisfying to do. But yeah, most of the time I enjoyed doing like the exterior work, like the structural stuff. Yeah, just seeing the whole thing come together.
How does it, like size-wise, how does it compare to a regular steamboat? Is it like twice as big, 3 times as big, or were there ones which were this big?
I don't think there were. I mean, I don't know like what Roller Coaster Tycoon scale is.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
Like, this is like very tall for sure. It doesn't, I think one thing I'm really pleased with is that it doesn't look out of proportion in terms of like, it doesn't look too wide or too tall, but actually it is very, it's massive. So I think like,
it feels right though. Nothing about it feels like uncanny or like disproportionate or anything like that. That might just be because there's nothing else on the map, perhaps, which was like a wise play if that's the case, if that's the trick that it needed. But it feels like a complete idea executed to an extremely high standard. And if it needed to be big to do that, then you made the right call, obviously. And to be so like brimming with content, and there's always another thing around the corner. On one hand, as like a viewer, that's like a delight because there's just so much stuff to look at. But as a builder, I can imagine that it was a hugely intimidating prospect to begin with. Was it like a tough sell to like sell it to the team, or was everyone kind of like, hey, that sounds good, let's tackle the problems as we go?
I think everyone was like pretty excited about the sort of moving backdrop idea. I think there was some doubts as to like if doing one big boat was the right approach, or if you should do like maybe multiple smaller boats or
interesting
something like this. But I if anything, I was like more confident that I could make a big boat work than I could actually execute the effects. So I was like pretty like, no, I'm sure it's going to work.
Well, turned out you were right. And congratulations on that. In a round of where every match was exciting for one reason or several. It was a delight to see 2 such amazing parks go up against each other. So thanks, you guys, for bringing it to life and for leaving no expense spared in bringing such an idea to life. Is there any details in here that you feel like people have missed that you want to highlight before we move on?
Not really. I don't think so.
I have some. I probably have some.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, go.
There were like in terms of like the small objects, like there were so many like the iPhone cards in the casino. I like that. I like those a lot.
Let's see. Casino down.
Bit further up.
Casino.
Bit higher.
Need to include a map with this.
Yeah, here you are. Casino.
Yeah, I liked how that came out.
So like the cards on the table there, Sammy.
Oh, no way. Are they little iPhones?
Yeah.
That's funny. They do look like cards. They look completely correct.
Yeah.
I also love the jumping, like, who made those? Was it Buggy or someone who made those like trampoline peep objects who are like the people winning and
they look pretty ridiculous. But
we've made a lot of progress since then, but I do appreciate them all the same.
Sometimes I'm just, I don't know, attracted to really ugly objects. I don't know.
No, but I don't think they stand out here.
No,
I have to say,
work,
like, there's been a lot of like cool objects come out already in head-to-head that we added, like these lanterns that sort of slowly move. They're pretty nice, and then there's these like flags which are flapping. These like hanging flags.
Oh yeah,
really
those are great.
Yeah, there's so much stuff that's like subtle atmospheric objects that have come out that we've put to use.
Wow.
I like how they're like monkeys all over the boat. that have like escaped from the circus. That was like a fun like. If I was ever like bored, I would just be like, I'm gonna put like a monkey in this room. Like I think there's a monkey in like most of the rooms somewhere. There's also there's a giant gorilla in the casino. The gorilla from Buxom.
This gorilla.
I think he's at one of the tables.
There he is.
Yeah.
Grimblow. Outstanding. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing the process in such a, you know, an interesting map in concept and also in execution. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
It was really fun.
Thank you so much. That being said, get the hell off my stream.
Okay, bye.
Bye,
Peace.
love you. Outstanding. I'm just keeping an eye on the schedule today because I've had a few people reach out saying they want to go at this or that time. So if we have a gamma, it'd be a delight to hear from you. Outstanding. We're going to say goodbye to old Smokey, as sad as we are, but we have the joy of opening up Neo Hot Springs, which I'm sure
should take way less time.
Considering that there was a nice juicy write-up that everyone can enjoy in the actual topic, it's a bit of a story to this one. So without further ado, I'd love to hand you over to the visionary behind, or one of the visionaries for sure behind Neo Hot Springs.
More like I don't know, one of the monkeys on the typewriter. Well, yeah, I guess
monkeys get the job done.
Yeah, I guess we did. So I think I should start with just a breakdown of just who did what, because I wasn't that clear about it in the write-up, and we didn't do a dot map. So Dirt, obviously, like the man behind it all, he had the idea for it from like day one, and then he did all the landscaping, all the rides pretty much, and just really the macro. So even though me and Ziscor mostly we did all the detailing in the buildings and like the actual texture work, most of where the buildings actually are, that's Dirt. And then Ziscor did basically everything that looks good and people actually enjoyed. No, okay, well, for real, he did like all the overly detailed, like grungy stuff at the bottom, like that. Yeah, that's super. It's just insane looking harbor. A lot of the buildings like full of pipes. A lot of the animated stuff, the pixel art with the animated objects. He did the top of that. Yeah, he did that really cool area with the casino and the brothel kind of thing. That was really cool to see. Just I don't know, popping up. And then I did most of the traditional Asian architecture, with the exception of that lighthouse building you're looking at right now. That one was Dirt. But yeah, I did all the traditional Asian Asian stuff, and that whole castle area with the red roofs. That's kind of like my corner. I did most of it with some help from Sense. And then of course there's the top of that skyscraper, which obviously Ziscor did. Just to the right of the castle. Yeah, that stuff with the animated billboards and stuff. So yeah, I guess. Oh yeah, some of the like some of the shabbier looking buildings on the lower levels, like the apartment buildings. Those that aren't like super detailed, they're mostly mine, and they're just were mostly a way fill space when we were getting close to the deadline. So I guess that should help people just understand who made what, because it's kind of impossible to do a dot map of this since there was just so much overlap all over the place.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a similar situation to Smokey's insofar as it's a very vertical experience, isn't it? And you'd have to do like a rotation. You'd have to do 4 dot maps, right, to like fully capture everything that's going on. So, just sort of going off what you've spoken about before and what's in your write-up and stuff, I'm fairly confident in describing this as sort of like an exercise in like efficiency in getting something down quickly, which comes up a lot in head-to-head, as we'll see when we speak to other people as well. So you had like a challenging time crunch, and you put your heads together to say what is the best way to get idea to reality, and get yourself in like a fighting position. What was that process like? What was it like to work with your team on that challenge?
Yeah, so it was a really interesting process, actually. Something which definitely neither me and Ziscor were used to. So from the get-go, since we knew we were on a time crunch no matter what, Dirt basically just said, put stuff down, don't think about it, don't, like, there was, our philosophy was just redo or change as little as possible. And I did kind of break that philosophy a few times, but mostly it was just put stuff down. If it looks decent enough, keep it, and then just keep going. Dirt took care of the macro. He's really fast with that stuff. And then Ian Ziscor's job was just make sure it looks decent, right? And then Ziscor, of course, he did a really good job of making everything look way better than decent, right? But sometimes it also came with a trade-off of maybe it taking a bit too long. And then I also got bogged down a bit during the whole, like, basically building on my castle area, because at the early stages of the building process, we were both really stuck still on how we're used to playing RCT, which is just build something, make sure it looks good enough, and then maybe after we're fully satisfied with how it looks, move on to the next thing, right? But we didn't have that luxury, so we had to pretty much totally change how we just tackled the game in general, and then just keep putting stuff down.
I think, and all that's in the spirit of the competition as well, isn't it? Like,
right.
It's really good at building those skills, and I think it's something that people come out of it with. Some people only show up for head to head, and then they leave head to head, and then they're like, "See you at next head to head." And I love those people. But then there's like some people who come out with it. A lot of people rather who go, "All right, I've figured out a new way to build, and it's fun to finish things because we finished all these head-to-head parks," and they immediately start applying those skills. So I'm excited to see more Gamma stuff. Okay.
Look.
I'm looking forward to seeing it all.
Dude, me too. I hope it happens. I wish it could make promises.
Come on, dude.
But no, I will say something. I like building on Dispark with the whole gang has probably been like just the most fun I've had in RCT, like in a long time. Like, I don't know, since being a kid and playing RCT, like I didn't care about, like without knowing about any. This was probably like just the most fun I've had, surely in recent times playing RCT. So I think there could be more things coming from me in the future. It's just, of course, it's going to be the rest of the contest, and I can't really reveal what's going to happen during the playoffs. But yeah, this I I do think this kind of reignited a fire in me and made me, be really excited about RCT again. Because of course, I'm not gonna get into specifics, but there was there were a few, like just obstacles during the contest for me and Ziscor specifically, because we had to do a lot of switches. There were a lot of schedule changes, and
Happens a lot.
I can't
Happens a
really
lot.
speak for I can't really speak for Ziscor, but for me that did kind of give me some fatigue. But then I think this project just really reinvigorated me.
I'm looking forward to at the end of a contest, like hearing from a team just going, you know what? All the things that we said at the beginning of the competition, they all happened. There was no switch arounds. There was no nothing. That'll be a good day, I think. I'm looking forward to head-to-head 476 to the power of 10 by 23 iterations of head-to-head, where just by sheer numbers, the likelihood of it all going perfectly just occurs. But yeah, I think it's always going to be like a certainty of head-to-head that there's a lot of switching around. There's a lot of not just being like versatile in terms of like building, but versatile in terms of your attitude towards building. It needs to be strong, and I feel like that is something that the captains often look for in a strong candidate to be on their team for someone who they're going to draft. Like, what is your temperament like? So it's all skills that you're building at the end of the day, and the skills that are applied everywhere. That like patience and that determination and that tenacity to carry on.
Definitely. And
do we have a Ziscor, or anyone? Has Ziscor come?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Yeah. Hey Ziscor, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. All the better for chatting with these lovely people.
Them jerks.
The jerks. What was this process like for you, mate?
Honestly, it was a bit of a haze. That's why I think Gamma asked me like a few hours earlier that, hey, you want to start this talk? And I'm like, no, man, I have no clue how this this came together.
But came together, it did.
Yeah.
That's the Ziscor effect. He just like turns on the game, and then he wakes up like 3 hours later having built that insane area, and I was like, oh, okay, guys, I guess I did this.
I think that's where I kind of fucked up. I think the first area that I built was this one on the screen right here. Yeah. So I built this around 12 days or 14 days, I think, from deadline. So there was a lot of stuff to do. Yeah.
And you felt very guilty afterwards.
For sure. Yeah. Thank God that Dirt had a very clear plan. He was like, okay, look, we're going to start with a Pro Tour 2 bench. It's going to be an easy build. It's going to, you don't really have to do all the micro shit. None of that needs to be done. We're going to do it quick. It's going to be a certain aesthetic. And me and Gamma, unfortunately, I think both of us were like, okay, we don't know how to navigate this sort of less micro detailed style, but we'll try. So over time, I think I finally got around. The build started about a month from deadline. That's when Dirt had the kanji characters on the map built up. There was a bunch of land. It's all completely land surfaces, and that's when over a few days, Dirt had plans. Like, he built the plain walls, and he had like descriptions of, okay, this is where we can do this thing. This is where we can do this thing. Like, here's where this area goes. Rusty walls is all my job. And then Gamma has all the traditional Archie up top. And so, yeah, it was a lot of work cut out for both of us. And in the manual, in fact, he has the back area, which really came out well, I think.
his green area.
Yeah, I think this is one of my favorite areas to be honest. It's very good.
So did Dirt do all of the rides?
Yeah. At first he did the dueling arm seats, which don't actually duel, unfortunately, and the dive machine. Then later he did the motorbike coaster, which is still, I think, still one of my favorites. Most of the flat rides were him, and then just at the end of everything, when I was working on some of the apartments, he just said, "Can you add like a drop tower at this like random place?" Yeah, that one. And then I just put it there, and I was like, "Okay, well, here you go." But everything else was him.
What a legend. You're lucky to have a Dr. Dirt on your team. I've had the pleasure of being on a team with him before, and
He's the MVP. He's
Yeah,
top three jobs
MVP.
right now.
so Ziscor, is this both of yours first head-to-head? Gamma, have you been in one before?
8.
You're an 8. Oh yeah, I was on the team with
We
you,
were
wasn't
the
it?
same team.
Yeah.
I was looking at our earlier.
That's so long ago for me, and I'm so old. The pleasure of being a teammate with Gamma is but a faded memory now, and that's sad. So try and get drafted on my team again, please, Gamma. And same with you, Ziscor. You need to be drafted on my team. I'm not going to be a captain. I'm not going to be drafted. You know what? One of you guys needs to become a captain next head-to-head.
All right, Ziscor, have fun.
Yeah, go for it, Ziscor. You're up. Ziscor, was this your first head-to-head?
No, I think it's my third. Yeah, because last year, last head-to-head, I was with Pac on Les Soirs de Ciel.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And before that, I was with Coco for Forbidden Mekong. Yeah.
Oh yes, of course.
My
My history in terms of Roller Coaster Tycoon is terrible compared to a lot of people. A lot of people can just like conjure up like, oh, and they were on this park and they were on that park and they were on. I can't do that for other people. I can barely do it for myself, as Gamma has just demonstrated. So I'm always really impressed with people's skills in that regard. What would you say, apart from you're not allowed to give the answer of everything, what was the biggest challenge in sort of bringing this to life?
Ziscor, you want to go first? I think you had a few challenges.
Yeah, no, I think I fumbled up on that challenge, I think, because, like Gamma said, I think it very much was a challenge of, okay, it needs to be efficient, needs to be quick. And that's where I kind of am not a good builder, you know. It takes me a while. I take a day, I'll do like 2 buildings, and I need them all to be unique. I can't do the same thing twice. So it takes a very, very long time for me to do stuff. And that's where I think the real challenge here was indeed to sort of fill out the stuff that's out there to sort of complete. Yeah.
Looking at this, I can I'll make a prediction and we'll see whether it's correct. Am I right in thinking that you probably didn't use all that much scenery manager on this park?
Oh, well, that one's a funny little tidbit. So I didn't use almost any scenery manager, and I think my team wants to kill me for that. Ziscor, on the other hand, I think like a few days before the deadline, I just told them like, dude, okay, you're a really great builder. Please just make some templates for us based around the map. And then he did, and then the map got like, I don't know, like 20% more completed after that.
Oh, okay, because I was just thinking in terms of like your philosophy going in of just build. I associate scenery manager with, you know, building off map and then copying that in after the fact, because it's a bit of a nightmare to build something sort of in situ and only capture the stuff that you want to capture if it's very vertical, because obviously it goes on like surface area, doesn't it? It just goes like, oh, here's the squares, we're going to copy that. You can do like, you can change like the boundaries and everything, but that's, you know, we're at that point it becomes quicker just to build the thing again sometimes. But you're saying that you got some templates, copied them around, and then gave them unique identity as you were going then?
Well, I don't know. Are there any repeats on the map? There might be. We didn't use the templates for much. It's just like at near the end of the building process, near the deadline, we did notice that there was like still a lot of rusty wall stuff down there that was still, you know, bare and in need of detailing. And then that was when probably like maybe even on the last day, I think Dirt started pasting some of the wall templates that Ziscor did, just scattering them around, but not in a way that you can easily tell that they're the same building over and over. It's just on places that would be seen as filler anyway.
Yeah, well, curating is an art at the end of the day, and if someone's talented with it, a collage doesn't necessarily have to just be a random assortment of paper, you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, it's really interesting to see to hear about the process of bringing this to life. I think it's a good demonstrator as well of the old truth that vibe is more important than sheer execution. You don't have to execute something to a really high degree when you are instead using that time to evoke a vibe instead. Would you say that was a philosophy behind it, or is that something that you can say in hindsight rather than ahead of time?
No, I think that's just their specialty, you know? Say it was similar with Valley of the Kings, but of course that one was that one had just better execution behind it, more time and careful planning. But it was still, I think it still all boils down to the same philosophy that Dirk has, just of having an idea first and then creating something like a really striking environment and atmosphere. And that already is, I would say, just like half the work done as far as what the viewer is going to perceive. And after that, the building process just becomes, okay, how can we make that vibe convincing? And of course, like it would definitely would have been an elevated build if we had and took the time to execute everything to a more elevated, consistent level of detailing. Didn't leave any like rough patches here and there. But I still think that I hope most people were able to just pick up on the vibe that we were trying to achieve. So, and I think without Dirt's, like careful planning from the get-go, this wouldn't have happened at all.
God bless Dr. Dirt.
In Dirt, we trusted.
Outstanding. Do you feel that there's anything on this map that you feel like people had overlooked, or any little detail that you want to highlight?
Not on my end. You got anything to score?
Well, shit. I think once Hoobaroo pointed out the cutaway alley, I think that's the only thing that I think some people might have missed. It starts at around level 47, I think. That's the level I built on, at least, because one thing I did was, once I was building it, I realized, oh shit, if I'm building at this level, I better make sure that people know that it's at a level 47. So I made a sign in the stencil sign object. It's on the other angle, I'm sure, and it starts at level 47. If you click on the cutaway thing. So it starts at not feet, but units. So it's supposed to be 47 is what I built on. That's how I started it, at least.
Oh,
I think.
damn. I don't know how to make it not be feet.
Yeah, just click on it,
just
man.
click on the value. I think it should change.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go then.
So yeah, that was me being
Change it
dumb
back.
and not thinking 6 days before deadline, or I think 7. That
So to be fair, let me cover for him here. So what happened was we still thought, yeah, at that point we thought we had still, like enough time to keep working on this at a leisurely pace. And then Dirt, so one of Dirt's assignments for this world was start working on some stuff between the kanji landscaping that can be seen with Cutaway. Then yeah, he started on this alley. But I think it was one day later when I came in and said, guys, I don't think we have time for this. And then then everyone agreed, but Ziscor still felt like it was a good idea to finish the alleyway, which of course it is, right? We weren't about to delete anything, especially all this hard work. So it just stayed there. And I don't know, I guess I'm glad to see that some people appreciated it. Thought it was maybe an Easter egg or something, which, well, we'll take it.
It is
Yeah,
cool.
we take those.
Doesn't hurt to have cool stuff in your park, guys. That's my advice. Build cool stuff. Amazing. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us about it. Always a pleasure to speak with you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for having us.
Gives me flashbacks to the pre-head-to-head times when we'd all be shit posting in the voice chat.
I'm like, I'm trying my best not to go off the rails here.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to speak with us. And that being said, get the hell off my stream.
Love you too.
Bye. Love you. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Am I right in thinking that we have a RobDedede and a Parker of the amusement variety at our disposal?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm driving. I'm just left my first job and now I'm going to my second job and I'm
and
in
you drive
transit.
a school bus, that's right?
No.
Okay, good.
I do not drive a school bus. I'm just in my car.
You drive a forklift in a nuclear facility.
Yeah, that's right. I'm like Homer Simpson.
That's how.
No, not really. Yeah, I don't know. Parker, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Nice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So this is one of those rare situations where I have insight into what went down here. So I'm going to be conscious of any editorialization that happens, and so you better tell the truth. No, I'm kidding. Lie as much as you want. I'm really easy in that regard. I love lying.
Yeah.
So take us from the top of. We're a week out from the deadline. We've got to complete a park. What does that look like?
Yeah. I don't know, Parker, do you want to take the lead on this or me?
Yeah, so with a week left, obviously we were a little frazzled, but we were down for the challenge, and I think the four of us worked really well together. We knew exactly the areas that we would excel at, and I think we each took those different areas and really just quickly knocked this park out, which is kind of crazy in all honesty.
I think our philosophy going into it was to make something that we're proud of, and then we accidentally made something that was fantastic instead.
Yeah. So, like, I know I had said in my review, but I told JK, I just wanted to make like a good realistic park that we could all be really proud of releasing. And then also I really wanted to make like the best fall park that had ever been released possibly. So I think we probably accomplished both of those in all honesty.
I think so. I'd love to hear any contradictions in terms of like better fall parks, because they're always a delight to look through.
Yeah.
Just such a
I
vibe
think,
that was evoked so strongly by you guys.
Parker's new fall tree objects really help sell that theme, because I think in the past, the solution to fall would be sort of just like, oh, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna A, maybe have a custom palette, and B, I'm gonna take this, custom tree and paint it orange. Whereas, like, as someone who lives in a place where people literally come to as tourists to see foliage, I think Parker's is much more accurate. It's very rare that trees actually have, I'm turning into Liam here, so excuse me, but it's very rare that trees actually are like fully orange or red. It's the reality is more how it looks in our park, where it's like there are still patches of green and sort of like a mixed fall color, especially as the climate is warming and everything. That's really actually how it tends to look more. So that is sort of like a nerdy thing, but I think Parker really nailed it there.
And these like animated fallen leaf objects, and of course we've got the shea swaying bushes, which really add a lot of movement and like character to the foliage as well.
Yeah. So ironically, I was like looking, like as we were making some business decisions, and I was looking at parks trying to get inspired, and this might sound weird, but for me at least, a big inspiration for this park was actually House by the Sea by adventurers called Last Season, even though that park was unfinished. And part of what I really liked about that park was how serene and tranquil it was with those grass objects. I said, man, there's this huge sea of grass objects here. Why don't we like make them, swaying like they're in the wind? I just thought that would be good. And then I was like, can anyone make this object? And Che made it. On such a short deadline, it was going to be hard no matter what. But hammering home sort of the atmosphere and sort of almost the romanticism, which maybe I would have liked to push more if we had more time. But yeah, that was a big thing, and I just love the swaying bushes, man.
They're great.
Is everyone still there? Did I drop off, or is everyone still there?
No, we're still here. We're listening
to
your wonderful talking voice, lulling us to sleep. Not because you're boring, just because it's nice listening to. But you are boring, though, but that wasn't the reason why we were falling asleep.
Right. Okay. Good to know.
I think, the experience building this was, it was obviously a delight. And it was really easy as well. It was like annoyingly easy that we sort of like worked so well together. There wasn't any challenges. Obviously, it was a huge challenge to get it completed and stuff, but it wasn't a challenge in terms of, communication or anything like that. We'd just sort of like log in our little shifts and we'd go, all right, I'm just building some more stuff. Oh, I'm just tackling this challenge. Oh, here it is. I've done it. It's especially beautiful seeing like Mama just sort of craft this amazing bridge seemingly out of nowhere. It just appeared one day and gone, I've built a bridge. Like, okay, the bridge is finished. I think we only tweaked the colors.
You built that so quickly.
And then you like detailed it on the final day, didn't you, Rob?
I only barely did a little. All the credit goes to Mama on that bridge.
Yeah, it really was a Mama experience. You sort of made it look a bit more 3D and a bit more, because like Mama was absolutely like smashing it. Mama did so much like cool stuff. It felt like Mama maybe did like, I might be wrong about this, but I feel like maybe Mama did like 3 sessions on it, and everything that he built was just top notch, which is what you expect from Mama at the end of the day, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It kept getting better after each time.
Top legend. I fully recommend being on a team with Mama. I feel like it makes everyone's life easier.
He's so good. I'm really happy I got a chance to build with him. Really, I'm happy I got a chance to build with all of you. You all were kind of, like when our team got drafted, you 3 were kind of on the top of my list of people I wanted to build with, because kind of a similar style, I think, in some ways. Maybe toward realism a little bit more. Because I think even though Mama is really, really good at sculptures and stuff, sometimes he does kind of tend toward the kind of clean, realistic bent, which was nice. I don't know, but yeah, if Parker, you're still there, I don't know if you want to talk about what you built on the map, maybe, because you had the biggest share.
Yeah, so I pretty much did like the village side and then the valley area. I did some stuff around the chateau, but not a bunch. That was pretty much Rob. But yeah, pretty much anything over there except for the 2 murals. Rob did those, which really helped add life and something you would see definitely in a village or city, especially nowadays, even though this was based back in the day, just kind of helps sell that feel of a village or town. But yeah, those were my main areas I worked on, and kind of like what you both said, it was crazy how easy it was to build with you guys on such a short deadline. I think we just all knew what we needed to do, and like you guys said, we had our little shifts and we worked in our shifts and got our work done. And of course, who wouldn't want more time? There would be tons more stuff I'm sure we could do, but considering we built this in the week, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is.
I think we just had a clear vision of what we wanted. We chose like quite a vivid sort of macro of having with a village on one side, there's a bridge that goes across. It felt quite risky to begin with, but once we sort of started applying the talent, it all came together really effectively. So it just shows, for me anyway, taking the big swings is a good idea. It can support sort of like a short time frame of stuff. Similar to like Neo Hot Springs, to be honest, like having that like vivid macro of those like kanji characters, like is a big swing that, pays off when it's done effectively.
Definitely. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed building on this. I think even the very first day, we didn't even know, like we knew the direction we wanted to have, the village and stuff, but like the fall idea wasn't even in there yet. And I think it was the second day is when we started messing around with that. And I actually made that like banner. And then I was like, okay, so we're going to do a festival here. This is going to help sell the atmosphere. And just really started moving along easily after that. But yeah. I enjoyed doing that. I would definitely consider myself a realism builder. So this was right up my alley, something I enjoyed doing. It didn't feel like a chore or I had to really like try super hard to try to make it work. It's just something that came easily. That was a lot of fun.
I feel like our team has a lot of like dark horses on it, like a lot of like people who perhaps people didn't realize just how good they were. And I feel like Parker, you're one of those people.
That's very kind of you to say.
Easily given. I'm not sure that we'll find anyone who disagrees with that. Rob as well. I was really, although we've seen a lot of Rob before. Obviously, it's Rob is someone who I feel like is always getting better, which is like so good to see because you're so good to begin with. And I feel like looking at like the castle and stuff is a real. Would you say you've done anything like this before, Rob?
Oh, we might have lost him.
Is he dead? He's crashed the school bus.
I hope not. I do know from just him talking to us. He said this was like the largest.
Oh,
there you go. Okay.
I was muted for some reason. Yeah, I have that one little like park that's set in Georgetown in DC. Where I did like, there's this big building called Healy Hall with a big clock, and that was a pretty big building, but probably not quite to this scale. I mean, so like the whole, if I may, like this concept was sort of my concept, and it was like, I was really fascinated with, I think we all kind of wanted to build a park that was maybe set in a real place. To help sort of with the realism aspect, and it basically is. And so in Canada they have these like big they call them the Grand Railway hotels, and so like when they were building the Trans-Canadian Railway, they have a bunch of these giant like Victorian hotels, castles type thing, and so ours is like based on a real one that's in Quebec City. We didn't end up actually building it in Quebec City because that would have been too much for the deadline. So ours is kind of set more out in the wilderness. But yeah, I mean, building the chateau, what can I say? I mean, looking at the comments, like, I would say that is the part of the map that has gotten the most criticism, and I think that's deserved. I mean, the building is very, very large.
It's shit.
It's very window heavy, and it gets a little blocky in places. The first thing I built was like the main big tower that you see in the middle, but then the team really helped push me sort of. Like this was always my plan, but the team really helped me kind of refine like the sort of ring of buildings that go around it, which it has in real life too, and I think that does help make it seem a little less blocky than it is, because if it were just standing on its own, you'd be like that's a rectangle. I would say like it was really, and it just in the fun build process to make it. Of having it done in a week, every manager was utilized, but I did try to have interest. And so you can see that, and I did it by using fish rocks.
You know what? Despite all what happened just then,
you sound like a robot.
It all still made sense to me. I still understood exactly what he was on about.
Yeah, but so pulling up real quick, like speaking about Quebec City real quick. So actually, that was a really good reference for like several of the buildings, even on the other end of the map, like the Diagonal Building, the church, the two buildings next to that, and then those two three buildings with the yellow umbrellas are all like based off of buildings that I found in Quebec City, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you've seen Catch Me If You Can, but that church scene at the very end where he gets arrested is actually, that's the church and the two buildings there, which is kind of cool. But yeah, like kind of what Rob was saying, Quebec City had a lot of inspiration for sure on this map.
There's also, I'll just highlight quickly that there's
is my voice better at all now?
It's better now, yeah. It kind of it just does that sometimes when someone's like on mobile. It'll like rubber band the audio, which is really strange. But no, you sound absolutely fine now. So in one of Mama's famous sessions, he like bashed out basically all of these interiors just in like. He was basically just like, I did a bunch of interiors, hope you like them. And we were like, yeah. Pardon me.
Yeah, the hotel, like, I didn't think I was going to have time to do interiors, and I was just kind of hoping people wouldn't notice that it was just an empty box. But then on the final night, I had worked like over 12 hours that day, and then I was going to bed, and then I woke up in the morning, and Mama was like, all right, guys, here's some interiors. And by the way, I also did the trouble of pasting them in and adding unique scenes to each floor. And I'm like, oh, great.
An absolute scary machine.
That was awesome.
And then,
yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, I mean, I want to say another thing. Like, my favorite comment I think we got on the park was from Josh. And he said like how the park kind of felt like a love letter to this part of the world, and it is. And I just wanted to say that I appreciated that comment, because it is sort of like, you know, Quebec and northern New England and the autumn and that sort of architecture, especially in, I think AmusementParker really nailed that part of the architecture in the village, sort of like the French Canadian, northern New England area. Obviously it's a place that's very close to my heart, as you all can probably tell by now. I love building places that are in real life, because I think, you know, real life has a lot of cool places that could be translated into the game. And I just think, yeah, I'm really even though like I only really did 25% of it, I'm really thankful to the other three builders who really hit a home run with the atmosphere and everything that turned out really nice.
Yeah, it was a vibe, wasn't it? It was just like cranking it out in a week was a real sort of experience. I don't know about you guys, but I never really felt all that nervous. That might be someone speaking from a position
we didn't have to win.
That's very true. We just wanted to make something that we really that we could really be proud of in the time limit, and I think that sort of relaxed attitude that we had. Not to say that any of us were complacent, obviously, but the relaxed attitude really helped just drive the fundamentals forward and not worry about like, and here's what we have to do to get votes, and we have to do, guys, we can't do it like this because we have to get votes. We were just like, yeah, let's make it just nice, you know. That looks lovely. Yeah. Let's build more like that.
Yeah, that definitely helped for sure. And even like in, you know, thinking back to the other rounds, like, you know, team input's been really good for our team. And this round, we were just kind of left to do what we wanted, which was honestly really nice in the sense that, you know, because we didn't have to win. So a lot of people, I think, weren't really paying too much attention. And then at the end, they were like, wow, well, this actually might win. And we were like, yeah, I don't know. It might. But yeah, I mean, we went in not thinking we would win. I think we went in thinking we would pull votes. So that was a nice surprise.
Yeah, it was definitely because at the end of the day, for as much as, you know, tactically speaking, it would have been better to, you know, do any number of things or whatever, or like at the end of the day, Rob and Parker, you guys hadn't built yet. And to say to you guys, oh, it doesn't matter, let's just submit like a 60 by 60 with like something farted onto it, is really insulting to like just how much you guys have contributed just in general, in terms of just being like really good team members, being like really supportive, be it just like giving feedback and keeping momentum going on stuff, or like building objects, whatever it is. It's a bit insulting to say that to you guys. So we didn't really take the foot off the accelerator in terms of like the rest of the philosophy that we were going for, and really trying to make stuff that we're proud of. It was definitely, I mean, I know I can speak for myself. I'm assuming Rob feels the same way, but never once did I ever feel that we like were forgotten about or anything like that. You know, we were given the same respect that every other round was.
Yeah,
and, you know, we were able to build something that was really cool because of that.
Yeah, I think because like it was because, you know, obviously it's like people can read between the lines. Building a park in a week, that was a business decision, and you know, it doesn't matter why the decision was made, but ultimately that's, you know, the park was built in a week. But
at the beginning of the contest, we didn't go, at round 5, we'll just do that in a week. Yeah, shit happens.
No, actually, I forgot to build. No, but the reason was, from the very beginning, like the mindset going into this was, from the whole team was, you know, you two hadn't built yet. Let's lean into something that you two want to build and are proud of, win or lose. And so I feel the same as Parker, like, you know, really grateful for that, because even though, like Sammy said, you know, Sammy and Mama had built, and, you know, they had already put in a lot of effort on their other parks. And so for them, you know, for example, you know, to put in all the effort over that week for a park that didn't ultimately have to win is just really, I think Parker and I are really grateful for that. And for the whole team, and for the whole team, you know, like Che making objects, you know, Sammy, you did the music, which I think was a highlight for a lot of people. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll speak a bit.
And the cool roller coaster. I was going to say, you got a lot of praise for that roller coaster.
Yeah, it's really interesting one for me because it came from like it was a really nice challenge in a way that I'm sure a lot of people in this contest are like familiar with. Obviously, like you're cooking on a deadline, right? And we've got this funny map shape. There's already like the castle plonked down here, and there's sort of like a clear vision for what wants to happen here. But also we want to have a roller coaster in because there's a lot of debate over this. But for me, I always enjoy seeing a roller coaster. I'm sure a lot of people do as well. And any excuse as well. It's just cool looking at roller coasters. So the design philosophy that I had for it going into it was to have it sort of have this like for it to like evoke this sort of like classic roller coaster, and we see it like if we just chopped off this area from maybe this white tower up and down, it's sort of like very like classic roller coaster, but as it comes around here, it goes very much off the rails, if you'll pardon the mixed metaphor there. It doesn't fly off the rails at any point. It's a very safe roller coaster. I just want to say it's safe. You can ride it.
Very safe except for the giant drop.
Yeah. So
don't worry, they inspect that about once every 3 years.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to do like with the space was have it utilize this like huge valley, but something that had been articulated at the beginning between basically everybody was like, we want this to be tranquil, we want this to be busy, we want the castle to be castle-y. So I sort of like had it going down here more, but I was like, no, we can't do that. That's just sort of irresponsible with the gift we've been given of this like clear like dichotomy or like a trichotomy between the three areas. So I wanted this big drop, and then effectively what I did was like, because we were trapped in this area, I had the station, I had the brake run, and I basically built backwards from the end and sort of ended up with this layout. And I was really proud of the sort of like building it backwards thing, which I know that Cedar.6 does because I've watched him do it a bunch in his fantastic YouTube videos. But it was really fun sort of like having it sort of meet in the middle, like we were drilling the channel tunnel with myself. And interestingly, no French people on this, unlike the channel tunnel. And it's Quebec, obviously.
Oh, thank God.
Thank God for that.
No, I'm kidding. We do, but it is set in French Canada, so.
Yeah, exactly. I built a lot of this stuff, and it was like zhuzhed up really well by Parker. Parker, scary player, isn't going to be a 1-point player ever again.
No.
I'm also never going to be a speed builder ever again, so I don't want anybody to think I can do this on the regular. I cannot.
Yeah,
I literally took off. Like I just put a shit ton of meetings on my calendar so I could build as much as I could.
I feel that happens a lot in head-to-head. I feel like maybe like the economic world notices when there's a roller coaster tycoon competition on from people going off work.
Yeah,
it's like the World Cup in that regard. But yeah, that's I just supported with like something that I did down here. I wonder if you noticed, Parker, but I actually like deleted a lot of your foliage to
Yeah, I did, so you could see the coaster better.
Yeah, so you could see like just particular like corners of stuff and stuff like that, and that was a really fun experience to sort of like curate all of this like gorgeous foliage that you'd done that was so like dense and just contributed to such like a strong vibe, and to just sort of go in and just go, and that one's gone, and suddenly you can see this like this corner here which sort of like sells the scale. And also I just want to say as well, I wrote myself on the Discord like a checklist of things to do, and I kept sort of like signing in and resigning myself and going like, okay, let's crack on. And I'd seen that Parker had already done the things that I wanted to do, or Rob or Mamaria. So like people were just like so motivated that everything that I'd said I wanted to do, or rather that I was like committing to doing, someone had already come in and like absolutely nailed. So I was like, oh cool. I have much less to do. So I'm very happy that I escaped by only having to do 10% work on this park. That was great for Sammy, let's say. But yeah, such a great experience.
Well, speaking of economic world, I just arrived at my other place of employment, so I'm gonna have to let you all go. But thanks for letting me talk about this, and yeah, it was super great experience. You know, the win was just kind of gravy, you know, because we didn't expect that we needed it. Turned out the Jazz Cats didn't end up needing it either. So in my mind, that part matters less than the fact that both teams committed really great parts.
Yeah. Going up against Maverick was real scary. If we'd needed that win, I would have been a lot of sweating hard when the match got posted. But thank you so much, Rob. Lots of love, Rob. Go to your job at the forklift factory.
That's right. No, it's actually at a baseball park, but yeah. All right, bye.
Dox him. Call up his place of work.
Yeah, I was pretty sad when I saw, Maverick as our competition, just because Cedar Point's my home park. I was like, oh, this is such a good recreation. I wanted to vote for it so bad, and I couldn't. I was pretty sad.
Yeah, really. It's really funny that like Maverick like fundamentally appealed to like the people building on this park so much.
Yeah,
we saw it and we absolutely crapped our pantalons. Yeah, I guess like ultimately I want to say to you, Parker, like such a good job on this. Like really, the graft really, it paid off obviously, but also like I feel like you've really like proven yourself in a really big way on this map.
Yeah, I think too that definitely helped push me. Just because this was not only my first head-to-head, but it's like my second release ever outside of my little Micro Madness, which you can definitely tell the two are similarly connected, like with the fairs and stuff. But yeah, I was determined to release something I was proud of, so I'm pretty happy it all worked out.
People loved it, man. People loved it. It wasn't just us gassing you up. We were telling the truth the whole time.
Yeah.
Amazing. Are there any details of this map that you feel like the people have missed out on seeing?
Yeah, so I was just thinking about that. Honestly, no.
And here's Hex.
There really wasn't anything in particular that people weren't like, wow, that they missed, essentially. I think everything, we made it just so simple and easy in the sense that, you start on the village side or the castle, either or, but you just kind of work your way to the other end. And while we have three very separate areas, I think they just all flow well together. And there was nothing in my mind that I was like, man, someone missed out on that. So
a little
I don't
Easter
know about
egg,
you. But...
A little Easter egg that I put in. I wonder if anyone noticed, but I forgot to put Hex in on the staff. And it's really funny because he was literally on the call with me, because the team always comes in and like supports in those last bits. And he was right there and I forgot to put him as a staff member. I say forgot, I'm fairly certain I did, but maybe I just hit the wrong button or something. And it didn't glue in. So we said canonically this is Hex. He's escaped containment and he's now hitting a pumpkin on the street. But yeah, a huge thank you to you, Parker, for coming on and chatting about it. Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Huge thank you to Rob as well. Hopefully Mamarias has been kicked off the team for not showing up and talking. Yeah, I don't think there's anything from my point of view that's been missed. Just a real pleasure working with you guys. Really proud to have released this. Getting a win was obviously secondary to making something we're proud of, but it's good to get the win as well and see so many people appreciating it. And for it to be so high up on a lot of people's like rankings as well. Just an absolute delight.
Honestly, shocking. It makes me feel good. So
yeah, well, there you go. Believe in yourself, man. You deserve it.
Yeah.
All right, that being said, Parker, get the hell off my stream.
All right. Toodaloo.
Lots of love. All right, who's next? Who's like knocking about?
I'm here.
Oh,
if
hey,
you
dude.
can hear me okay.
I can hear you perfectly, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I was worried about that. My signal's been kind of iffy, so I won't be able to watch the stream while I'm talking.
Okay,
But I have a pretty good idea of everything in the park. So
yeah. In fact, you're walking around Cedar Point as we speak.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't hear the whole thing you said.
It's okay. I was just making a joke saying that you're actually at Cedar Point.
I wish I was. You know, I was at Cedar Point about a week before even the concept of making this park happened, and it would have made it so much easier if I was prepared, because I could have got all the references I needed. And instead, we had to carefully scan through Cedar Point walkthrough videos to get accurate references.
That's so funny. Damn. Well, the effort paid off, because what a thing that you came out with. And I was really offended to hear that was it 2 weeks you guys did this in?
Yeah, we did it a little bit over 2 weeks. I think it was like 17 days with the extension.
Yeah, really just so much polish and so much commitment to the concept. We were worried when we popped this open. Just even looking at this area here is just such a... People don't build like this when they aren't doing a recreation, and I hope that people start doing it more, because it's so like idiosyncratic and cool, and just something that you don't get from people a lot of the time. And you know what? It was just really fantastic to see such a scary Mr. Brightside park. That's what we've all been waiting for. I'm not sure who we dropped.
Yeah, that's what I've been waiting for too. It was nice to finally really I guess, I don't know, flex my muscles on a park I was super passionate about. As much as I loved building Costello, the concept, the theme of it wasn't really my thing, and it was just kind of a place where I was able to find something that I was okay with building on, because everything that we were working on at the time, nothing was like this. Nothing was realism. And so to be able to get the chance to make a park that was, dirty American realism, hyper realistic, just super detailed recreation, and not just that, but Maverick is my number one coaster, and it wasn't really like an idea I set off to like, oh, let me make my favorite coaster. I was just messing around with layouts, and I was like, oh, I haven't tried to build Maverick in a while because the new pieces, and
of course, yeah,
I had posted a layout for Maverick in Still Vengeance, just out of like for fun in the team Discord, and no one had said anything about it after I posted it. But a couple days later, I had come out and said, "Hey, Scream Easy did really well. Maybe I could do this quick recreation in 2 weeks. It'll be not necessarily a throwaway. It was something that we figured like this, we could probably get away with losing a round, but guarantee we'll get some votes from the people that love the realism." And that's kind of how I sold the concept to the team. And they were like, yeah, sure, we'll do it as a backup. And eventually it was getting strong enough to be like, okay, I think this is good enough to put out there, and to give our other parks more time to cook.
Sounds like classic head-to-head to me. Well, I for one am glad that the team put their faith in you. I imagine there was a lot of challenges in bringing this to life. Was there anything in particular that was there like any like unexpected challenges that you experienced whilst you were cooking this one up?
Yeah. So I think that when you're doing RCT, a lot of the creativity comes in like trying to make things look good. But when you're trying to do an accurate recreation, the creativity comes in how could you make something real look good in the game, and not
Ooh.
intentionally. And there's definitely stuff there like the bridge.
Could you just repeat that last part? Could you just go from the top of that thought?
Area.
Ooh, we're losing Mr.
All the
Brightside.
buildings that are there, and personally, and also with its location. And it actually wasn't too hard at first. There was a couple areas in the seating area for the restaurant that were tricky because there's a lot of curves in that area. But I think maybe the most tricky part was trying to was getting the southernmost area of the park, which is like the Scream and Swing, the town hall, like the museum building, and the splash boats. Those rides were like the second phase of the park because we had about 2/3 of the park done before we even added that. So just trying to make sure everything made sense and how do we rotate a building so we could actually build it, what goes in diagonally, what goes in half diagonally, what goes in on grid. And so that's, I guess, the big challenge with doing a recreation. But luckily, the actual Maverick layout fits pretty well overall into RCT.
Yeah, it's really a delight to behold because with these new, like, just those, like you were saying, those just new pieces just make it so much more fluid. And of course, we've got the famous deadly inline twist that it used to have, a barrel roll, whatever it is, heartline twist.
Oh yeah,
it used to be here between the rocks, didn't it?
Yeah, it was there. There was some people that had recommended putting it in the layout, and I had thought about it, but really getting that in there probably would have been at the cost of weakening the flow of the actual layout and the accuracy of it as well.
For sure. Damn. Just what
Sorry, it didn't come with my questions.
No, absolutely. I just want to insult you for a second and say I always don't like it when there's like 1/32th of a ride in there. But apart from that, that's the only real criticism that I have of this.
Okay, I could understand that. I mean, obviously, we would have liked to get more of the rides in there, but I think it was making sure there was movement.
Incoming.
What?
Full recreation? Finals
I
park?
mean, not who knows, but but as we started putting in the rides, and the team was actually like pretty happy about having those little parts of the ride in there, just for not for the sake of those rides being there, but just to give more of a setting of like a clear, like, this is Maverick in location to all these other rides.
Yeah, it's really good for like context, isn't it?
Yeah, because really it would have been really hard to get any of those rides in fully. Even getting the Scream and Swing was kind of tricky since it was so close to the edge and we were running out of tiles. And it was funny because we had the whole map, like we had all the tiles out and we were like, holy shit, it feels kind of small. And the only other ride we had in was the wave swinger. And so we were like, we have to get something else in, another full ride in there. And so we put the priority on the Scream and Swing because it was like the least amount of space.
Yeah, interesting. Because like Steel Vengeance, very big. Cedar Creek Mine Ride, big ride. Maybe that, like, hypothetically, like the splash boats, because it's quite like a simple splash boats, isn't it? Snake River.
Yeah, it is. It could have maybe. It really would have costed a lot of tiles though
Yeah,
to get that thing
like
in there.
way too many tiles. Yeah. So I think the decisions
so
that you
it
made
was
really
tricky.
made sense and paid off in terms of like bringing the whole thing to life. Yeah, tricky.
Yeah,
and another thing
mean,
that I loved as well was like the fact that like there's a million textures on this bridge just feels so like real, but like you'd get chewed out for doing it like in like a non-recreation environment.
yeah, that was like that was within the first day or two that I built that, and I think I really scared the team. They were probably thinking, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" But really,
lost the plot.
it really gives the area like a feel that it's real, you know. At least in American like amusement parks, there's so much stuff that's like that. You know, I've been criticized a lot for like on my parks doing like 10 different kinds of fences in an area, but I'm like, that's what they do in real life. So I want to be as accurate as possible, even if it doesn't look the best. People that know it will get it.
I guess that I'll highlight that as like a strength of this park and ones like it is that there's always a rub between reality and what I don't even want to say works, but what effectively communicates things in Roller Coaster Tycoon, and often like realism loses out to communicating what you want to communicate, and that's like I'd say that's a real strength of this whole experience, this park, is that there's a lot of harmony between those difficult things of having the ugly things in there and giving them the beauty of feeling so real and like a verisimilitude like in the context that they exist. And you do perhaps whether you know it or not, you did sort of obey a lot of the limitations of Roller Coaster Tycoon in a sense, whilst bringing it out in that huge realism requirement for something like this. So I guess more than anything, that's just like a huge congratulations for having the sort of taste and the tact to bring those things to life within Roller Coaster Tycoon, which has it's isometric. And you know what? It isn't even isometric. It's like just like 2 pixels off isometric. So it's like even more annoying.
Yeah.
So I think that's really showing your like you and the teams, obviously, because I'm sure they helped refine a lot of this. Just shows that that all of your guys' good taste and tact when dealing with realism and not getting too caught in the weeds in terms of realism as well.
Yeah.
So absolutely bang up job on that, I suppose.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, and I can't take credit even like for everything, even though I did 80% of the park.
Green
you know,
name,
I really
name
couldn't
King.
have done it to that. I couldn't have done it without the team, you know, especially Tulsa and Madi. They were both just the park wouldn't have been as good without them. And also, you know, the rest of the team really giving that feedback to help me like up my game a lot. But you know, I was happy with being able to do such a faithful recreation. And there was very, very few things that we actually changed to make it look more appealing. We really tried for accuracy everywhere we could, and I think that paid off. You know, even though not everything is to everyone's tastes, like it really does come together. And I think a big part of that too is making it feel so lively. The new peep objects were really amazing, and just you know, it just feels so lived in. And I think that was one of the reasons too we wanted to do those very small portions of the rides on the map edges. Is when you catch a train going by, it is kind of cool in my opinion.
You raised an interesting point there with like the peep objects, because I feel like that's, you know, if we were to write like a university paper about head-to-head 10, one of the things that would come up a lot is the utilization of the peep objects. They really, 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 for something that we could have had literally since, you know, the game came out, because all they are just static peep objects. They really bring so much energy to an area. Just these static peep objects just make it feel so much more real than just having the bustling peeps who don't move around in like distinct groups and don't necessarily do sensical things. Just like curating those peep scenes has been a real feature of Head-to-Head X. And I really love that, because it really, it just adds to the magic. Even in this just like queue scene here, it just feels like such a much more real queue.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And these just like,
I think that those peep objects are so helpful. We weren't the first park to do it. There was other parks.
No, of course, yes. This season has really, it's been a lot of people over the course of this season really nailing it.
Yeah, but I think one of the biggest meta changes is how dynamic queues have been. Probably, I feel like there was a big change after Belle Isle.
Yeah, defo.
Because queues in that park were just so impressive. And so now queues have become a lot more dynamic. And because the guests are so you know, they stick to the grid, it's important to have those peeps to fill in those gaps and spaces to make it look a lot more natural, I think.
Yeah.
And that was something we tried to do in all the lines.
Yeah, and queues as well, they don't look like this, they look like that. They look like groups of people and people being really respectful, and not these sort of like face to back of head queues that we have in Roller Coaster Tycoon. Like they really are like more like clumped up. So that's always sick. Lovely to see.
Yeah, it would be nice if eventually we could get like half tile queues or a quarter, whatever. That would be awesome. Like a maze.
Yeah. That sort of scale. Probably not. Yeah. I feel like the people doing all the heavy lifting on open, it's probably pretty low on their priorities. The queues work pretty great.
Yeah.
And we've got talented people like you who
true.
can make them more lively as well. Is this like a Tolsimir thing over here? Like this like really cool like dappled land texture stuff?
If you're looking at the infield area of the coaster, I'm sorry, I'm not watching the stream.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the landscaping, Tolsimir had kind of come up with the blueprint of what it would be like, and any areas that he didn't do, I was doing, and we kind of I had like redone some of his areas, and he redid some of mine, just to get the crunch right everywhere. But yeah, he definitely did a lot of the lifting on landscaping. That was a really nice. I want to say it was an Ethan object that was just like the most overpowered thing ever. It's all over the map, but it like auto rotates, and it's just like it's the best piece ever.
Yeah, there's a lot of Ethan objects that are just awesome. Something that I just wanted to highlight is the little peep scenes that are everywhere. And due to the time crunch, I don't think we did as much like peep scenage as we perhaps may have wanted to. So especially when we opened up yours and we saw the one that I'm looking at now is that one with the hose across the path, and there's like little cones and they're just doing gardening. That's just so cool. That's one of my favorite.
It really
peep
added
scenes,
a lot
just
to that little spot.
Stop. And there's there's the engineers on the roof like adding the Six Flags sign to the town hall. I guess
we really wanted to go on.
No, of course, you speak.
I was just gonna say we really wanted to utilize the new peep editor because it's so strong. it was really easy to get in peeps, and it was so much easier. I did all the peep scenes in Scream Easy, so being able to get a few of them in on Maverick, it was just so much easier. And actually, most of the peep scenes were Tulse as well. I did a couple of the I did the ones on the turntable for the River Rapids, and I put some of the peeps in the chairs, in the rocking chairs that are also new objects too.
Just over here. At the fire pits.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I just want to give a quick highlight to some of the new objects that we had, which was the rocking chairs was one of them. There's also on the Maverick station and Q, there are these vertical wooden slats. They're kind of like cut off, and they're actually two colors, but one of them's invisible, and it really gives a nice texture. Saxman did a piece for the tunnel, the diagonal portion at the end, which would not have been possible without a new object, and really thankful he was able to get that in. And big thing, I don't think no one at least pointed it out, but the coaster has a whole new set of footers. Which
really?
was one of the first things we got in there. And they're like the square ones, the super detailed ones, but round. And we never had any objects like that. If you wanted round footers, they had to be like the ones that have been in the game for 20 years. So I'm so glad that we got those in.
Damn.
And I think Hydro was already making use of them.
They're awesome. I'm sure they're going to see a lot of use because Lord knows the old ones are looking a bit clunky in our current level of detail.
Yeah.
Glad that those are definitely going to see some good use. Amazing. And I guess you've just at the end there you've preempted my usual final question.
Anything that got overlooked?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely those. I do want to say I was I was stupidly really proud of the Maverick signs at the entrance. There's a normal sized one right at the queue entrance, and then to the right of that there's also the mini one of the same logo.
Yeah.
And I thought those were so cool when I did them. But I don't know, maybe no one cared, but that's okay. They like the park, I guess.
No, they are really cool. I was looking at them earlier, but you didn't see because you don't like us enough to watch the stream.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've just got a question as well. You know, where you've got like the horseshoe element, and there's a path that sort of goes towards the railway. Is there really just like a path that leads to nowhere? I've never been to Cedar Point.
So there's actually one of the things we sadly had to cut was there's a Halloween haunt maze that goes through the whole ride area, but because of the way I had to make the layout, we didn't have enough space for it, and so the roads that are there are maintenance roads, and they have a little bit more room in real life, but you know, there has to be sacrifices when you're making a recreation. And so one of the things that we definitely had to sacrifice, and probably without too much missing, would be all the maintenance areas for Maverick right behind the station. And no one even really knows what those look like unless they're looking for it. And I probably watched the POV of Maverick at least 200 times building this, trying to find angles of every part of the coaster that wasn't seen from the midway. So it's what's there is accurate, but it's maybe a little tight compared to in real life.
Such is making a recreation.
Oh yeah, but it was worth it. And I'm so happy with the end product, even though we didn't win the match. I won a green name.
It's yeah. You don't see any of us winning any green names, that's for sure. So who's the real winner? Neither of us needed to win.
Yeah. But we're happy that we made it to the even though the match wasn't too high stakes. With the outcomes that happened, we did earn the spot ourselves, which made me happy.
Absolutely, yeah. Honestly, on any other circumstance, it could have gone the other way. People are already, gone on about how this is, they're really high up in their ranked parks of the competition, despite the fact it didn't, despite the fact that you had to go up against the best team. So congratulations for getting as many votes as you did, actually, because really astounding that you managed to take even one vote from us.
Yeah, it it was hard going up against your park because I really did love your park. It's in my top 5 for head to head. So it did hurt to go up against something that I liked so much. But
you're really very
at one point we were tied.
Oh yeah, we were.
We were tied at one point.
And I put in the Lonely Hearts Club chat, I was like, it would be great if it ended in a tie. It's like really unlikely, but I feel like it would have been really fun if it had ended in a tie. But sadly it wasn't to be. Sadly we did win. It would have felt very fair if it ended in a draw. I feel like it was definitely 2 equally matched parks going up against each other. And it was an absolute pleasure to go up against you, as well as chat with you today. Is there anything else that you want to cover before we move on? I'm not sure that we've got anybody coming up next, is my only concern. Pop off in the chat if you are belonging to any of the teams or parks that are going to be discussed. But just for the time being, we can enjoy the pleasure of Mr. Brightside's company. We've got a Kumba who could perhaps talk about I don't know how to pronounce it, Ghirardelli's Dream. And who else? We haven't got an RWE or anybody for... Just looking. For some reason, the Evergreen Gardeners are the most elusive bunch of people ever.
Hey, Sammy.
Hey, Kumba, how you doing?
Okay.
Good to hear.
But yeah, Gustav just pinged our builders, so we'll see if anyone jumps on. If you want, you could maybe go to another park first, but I don't want to have our team not represented and no one speaking for it. So worst case scenario, I'll do it.
Amazing. So I'm not sure, going off the track record of the Evergreen Gardeners, I feel like they do play quite close to the chest and maybe they're a bit shy, so they might not show up of their own volition. So maybe what we could do, just whilst we're waiting for people to talk back and get back to you on that, we could open up this amazing park and perhaps we'll just all get in the chat and gas it up. Because it really was such an outstanding amazing. We've got Lurker here. I wonder if Lurker would like to, seeing as we haven't, usually it's RWE who comes in and speaks for the team.
It was incredible. It got my vote.
I thought it was absolutely sensational, this park. It's just it's just that situation where it has to go up against another park and one out, but it could have gone either direction. Could have gone either way.
Yeah, no, this was an incredible match. I'd say it was the biggest match this season. Both teams had to show up. It was do or die, and yeah, no, an incredible matchup.
It was done and did. Yeah, I can say that again. So we got Lurker in the text chat. What I might do is just a bit of the opposite of transcription, like reading out what Lurker has to say on the matter. So I've got my phone in my hand. I've got the park up on the stream. So anything that Lurker wants to add, I've just noticed that there's a peep scene here. That's awesome. That's really funny. Gamma says, I think we should get Gustav to talk about the park since he soloed it. Gustav did build every park in round 5 of head-to-head. Plus, we've got the amazing plugin as well. Just for the benefit of the stream, who perhaps, or rather the eventual upload on YouTube. I guess I'll give it like a brief introduction of this is Bene Volantes. This is the park that Evergreen Gardeners blessed us with as their round 5 submission. Could someone just like type in the chat who the builders were for this? I just don't want to get it wrong, and my memory for this stuff is patchy at best. But what I'll do in the meantime, whilst we're waiting for the builders, is demonstrate the really cool plugin that it's got. So right now we're in a place called Tremoridan on this floating island. But if we push any of these buttons here, it will rewrite in a really cool way. It's just like such a vivid bit of imagery of it, like a diamond fading in and fading back out. And there's a couple of different. So it was Fish, Six Frags, Lurker, and Cedar. And we've got all these amazing. I believe these are all made up. Which is really awesome. We love a bit of world building. But yeah, just the whole. My computer isn't bad, okay, but for some reason it really struggles with Roller Coaster Tycoon. Just such cool architecture, just a real sick blend of all these angles, just really bring it to life. Just such a cool fantasy setting. I'm really, like, I'm a bit ignorant on the exact context of this park. Like, is it completely imaginary? Because if so, like the imagery evoked is just so delightful. It really feels very Studio Ghibli in all the best of ways, without seeming like it's like just riding on the coattails of Studio Ghibli. It feels like a worthy like love letter to it. It's just like cool stuff, like the grass and stuff along here. And the underparts as well, which are like, I'll tell you, like the underpart of doing scenery that's like underneath other scenery in a way like this is really challenging. And they really went to lengths to create a texture that was like worthy of the concept. And I really wonder, just to speculate wildly, whether that was like a thing that they concentrated a lot on before committing to this idea. So Lurker says, I wasn't expecting to build again in head-to-head, because Lurker famously built on round 1, built on Troubadour et Baladins, I believe it's pronounced. So I was basically just doing my usual DKMP thing. Then I ended up on this. The transition from NCS Open and DKSO to this was rough, to say the least, because Lurker is a famous NCSO player and Loopy Landscapes player, and all in all, handsome being. Lurker's typing away. these scenes underneath of the peeps and stuff hanging out, and it really feels very lived in, but still sort of like serene and like quiet as well. I feel like if they'd put too much stuff going on, it might have actually detracted from the experience. Like we've got like a crashed airship, and a part that I really loved was this area here. Just this entire bit really I loved, with the tram ride which goes up here, and I think it comes from this direction. It comes up through here, and it goes from suspended to riding on top of the rails and stuff, making great use of like the new hybrid coaster, like diagonal track. So we're going back to a Lurker cloak. This is a cloak quote. Always exciting to hear from Lurker. He says, I wasted a lot of time just trying to figure out how objects go together. The angles and perspectives screwed with me so hard. I'd get something looking okay from one angle, rotate, and it'd be floating a mile from where it was. I was just straight up raging at one point. Six Frags would know. I imagine that we had the calming presence of hands to quell the rage of Lurker. You know what? I can't even imagine Lurker like kicking off. in a way, as sad as it would be, I'd kind of love to see Lurker absolutely raging, because he's such like a lovely presence. I feel like those are the people that you want to see rage, are the people who you just associate with being really like calm and like well balanced. Yeah, fully like building on a park like this where it's like suspended very much like above the true ground. So if we hit 4 and we hit H, and in fact if we get our land tool and let's just set this to 20, just to demonstrate the challenge of building this. Oh, we've only got that one. Well, that's annoying. But if we how can we demonstrate this? We hit 4. And if I go like this, I bet we can't even see. Like, I wonder, like, so here, like, let's see if we can delete some of this beautiful stuff down here, but just to demonstrate, and then we can reopen in a second. If we want to build here, we have to go from here all the way up like this. So building like this is a huge challenge. A challenge that, like, for example, on oh shit, is the stream gone? Let's have a look. No, it's still going. Thank goodness. Whew. For example, us building like Chateau Frontenac, we could just build on the ground. Like, cool, let's build a outstanding little castle, you know. But that is not a privilege that they had when they were building this. They had to do everything up in the air. And that is a huge, huge, huge undertaking. Now, we saw that in round 2, that Jens didn't know that the control button existed. And something like this would have absolutely killed Jens. So in a way, I kind of wish that we'd done a floating island so we could have watched, seen how Jens overcame that, because he built all of those mountains in, what's it called? Samabava's Rest, without using the control button, which is insane. Oh, it's not responding. Come on, game, you can do it. You can do it. Yeah, it's back. there's just such like a distinct like authorial voice in this park as well. I wonder how they did for tile limit as well. 'Cause it feels quite... It's very dense map. But like if I like intellectualize it, I guess it is pretty small despite the perceived content there. I guess that would be like really, really good in terms of like efficiency. Of like using those tiles effectively and getting that density up and having that painterly vibe. Let's see if... Yeah, Lurker's just saying the challenges of building high up are perilous, to say the least, especially for one's mental fortitude. Like even just the texture work on this like path here is just so cool. And for like buildings like this as well, like for Chateau or for Maverick or like places like that, we can like look to reference, but like what is the reference for this carrot ass thing here? You just have to imagine that shit and bring it to life and put all that texture and like the implied spiral staircase up to the top. And these towers with all like the foliage on top and stuff. It's just delightful. Like, what a delightful park. This dome is apparently like lighting up and stuff. Lurker is typing. We're going to get another lore drop from Lurker, hopefully. Like this area with like the water wheels and stuff. All the pipes and the... Just how quiet it is just such a delight. So, like I says, I actually filled the buildings in a couple of places. Was really tough trying to match Fish's concept and what Six Frags did. Yeah, I can imagine. Those are two scary builders. Damn, I'd love to be these guys, but I know for sure that I'd be the jerk who, like, gets mangled in a water wheel. Liam Pye says, ribbed domes are not easy. Damn, dude. That sounds like your personal business. I'd say like the biggest problem with this park is when you hit enter, it just sort of like plop you somewhere where you're not sure where you are. But that's a small trade-off for such like a pleasant experience. And that sadly as well is just like a consequence of having something suspended in the air. If you want to have that experience of it being in the air, to rotate it would put you somewhere different. And you've got to take big swings, as I said earlier. Lurker says, I did some work on the building in the back. The one land one that goes over the main coaster. Let's see if we can find that. This one here. A couple of small ones elsewhere, and also did some of the pool edges. Hard for me to describe where. I can't watch the stream with my internet. Damn, Lurker. We love Lurker, but he does live in a stump in the middle of the wilderness. Maybe that's why we love him. Maybe that's made him who he is. And just for context for the people who are watching in the for watching on YouTube or elsewhere, there's lots and lots of nice things being said in the voice chat, but I can't do both at the same time without it being a pain in the backside, to say the least. So just know that the people are really showing this a lot of love, as they should, because there's so much to love about it. But the actual builders aren't here to experience that, as they would see if they were here. But they've not the time or or it's at a bad time for them if they're like an international player. It's not an easy thing to find the time to come and speak on here, which is why I'm just so grateful to the people who do come and talk. So Lurker says that I think it's somewhere around here he did. And Fish did a sketch for him. If you notice the peep scene with the Professor Fish, I did that, named the professor after Fish, because I felt like I was taking a class on Roller Coaster Tycoon sometimes. Absolutely amazing tips and feedback the whole contest. Yeah, I can imagine that really being the case. I know that I wanted to build with Fish, but we didn't get drafted on the same team. So, yeah, I can do the plugin again, Ulvenwood. Where do we want to go? Ulvenwood, pick a location and we'll go there. You've taken too long, Ulvenwood. We're going to Lawyer. I always love fantasy names. Yeah, you said that one. Lurkies. But this one, with the backdrop on this one is, you know, among the more vivid backdrops in terms of like contrast between the actual park and the backdrop, which is always good. Lurker says, one of the main regrets on this is I didn't get more peep scenes in. There were suggestions I never got in because I got hung up on stuff like the angle thing. Yeah, it's a real like paradigm shift to go from like more NCSO and loopy landscapes stuff to like the half diagonal suspended in the air stuff that you're doing on a park like this. So I think, you know, even if you feel like you didn't do that good a job, Lurker, which it seems like from what you're saying, You really, really, really did. It is really difficult, and for someone who comes from the background that you have, to have worked on the parks you've worked on, you've got a lot to be proud of, because there's really no part in this park which is like weak or anything like that. So it really shows that you did bring your A game, and it really came across in like such a fantastic park. And that really says a lot. This man is a jack of all trades. And there's just so many like scenes that you can just linger on and just sort of like drink in and like wish you were there. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't go on a lot of rides, right? Because I get like motion sick. I would never go on this. I'd be terrified that it would just fling me off into the void. Can you imagine? Like, do they have like the like societal equipment for like litigation if your like child gets flung off into the void whilst they're on a swinger? I'm just lurking the chat, really. I'm embodying my idol, Lurker, and making sure I'm not missing anything in there. I just want to say as well, just thank you to Lurker for, you know, making the best of a bad do. I know he strictly speaking, he lives on Mars, so it's difficult for him to get a internet connection from several light minutes away. But I'm really grateful that Lurker's taken the time to come and chat with us, as I'm sure everybody else is as well. And it was a pleasure to be the translator for the recording as well, and for the stream. And in a couple of minutes, we'll move on to the Hurricanes Park, as I want to also remember to be respectful to Kumba, and may want to just sort of give the captain's perspective on what's gone on. But Lurker is typing. Lurker says, also want to add, I did some supports on the main coaster on the top of the map. They look weird. If they look weird, that's why. Nah, they look really cool, man. I don't get CSO supports as much at all, so I was making stuff up on the fly. No, man. On that regard, I've put in our in the Lonely Hearts Club chat, I'm like, there's very little like I'm so bad at that I refuse to do, and one of the things I'm really terrible at is custom supports for like steel coasters. I'm alright for them on wooden ones, because I did the supports for the wooden in Chateau Frontenac, but you and me both, Lurker. You've certainly done a better job than I would have. And also a little reminder for the people who are perhaps watching on YouTube, you can experience these parks for yourself. All you need is to own a copy of Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. like the base game, as it were, which you can get from really any online digital retailer. I believe it's on Steam, I believe it's on Good Old Games, I believe it's in a lot of places. And you can download Open Roller Coaster Tycoon. If you just Google Open Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, it'll be the first thing that you click on, and you can go to nedesigns.com, or you can follow the links in the description to actually go and see these parks for yourself. You can experience them in all their glory. You can hear it with the music and stuff. I don't have the music on just so it doesn't interfere with the audio of the people speaking, which I feel like is the main draw of being here with everybody. Lurker says, yeah, I'm terrible at custom supports and hate doing them. I actually design my builds around doing as few as possible. You and me both, mate. You and me both. You're speaking my language at this point, Lurker. But that being said, Lurker, thank you so much for sharing your experience building on this with us. Really appreciate you taking the time to like type out all this stuff as well, because damn, it's a lot easier just speaking about things. I can tell you that for free. So thank you so much for that. And we will hop on to the Hurricanes Park. I don't know whether Darren is still around. I certainly hope so.
Can you hear me?
Hello, Darren. How are you? Still good, I hope?
Can you hear me now?
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can't.
Outstanding.
You can hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. We can talk.
We can talk, we can do it. Thank goodness for that. So yeah, tell us a bit about the experience, sort of like watching this flourish as a captain. I'm sure you're feeling very proud of this.
Yeah, this was a park that we'd actually, started developing and brainstorming early in the contest. It was one of Split Vision's original proposals for a park that he'd like to build. And, Terry, immediately living in the kind of San Francisco area, was all for it. So basically, right at the beginning of the contest, I guess that's my second and third round pick right there, saying, yeah, we want to build this park. And no one hesitated. We said, yeah, you got it. And I gave it the green light pretty early in the contest. Now, of course, Split Vision, he built on it on and off, but since it was planned for later in the season, he didn't have much support on it because the other builders, Ball Pit Warrior was around 2, Terry was around 3. So he had to wait a little bit to get some help on it. And for Ball Pit Warrior, there's a little bit of an adjustment because his background's NCSO. Sorry. I'm getting old.
You're aging before our very ears.
I need to drink some water. 1 second. Quick time
No,
out.
go for it. I could do some water as well. It's a water break, everybody. Run and get your waters.
Water break. Water break. You might need to work in an intermission in these things.
Ba-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah, no, it's so yeah, and I think Terry was probably a little fatigued from working with me. I mean, working on round 3. So, yeah, it ended up getting a little rushed in the end, but still, I look at this map and I love it. I really, it's pretty classic H2H. The parks that you watch them grow. You watch them go from like a sprout to a tree. You love your own parks, and I really love this park. And yeah, it was a tough match, but the end of the day, I thought it's in my top 20 parks this season for sure. I'll have a list and a little bit of a review at the end of the season. I didn't forget about every park that's been made. I've just been busy. So, all right, Sammy, you're the host of this podcast. Do you have any questions?
I have a ton of questions. Obviously, like one of the significant sort of contributions that this park has had to sort of like Roller Coaster Tycoon in general was these like the use of rides to create a more smooth experience than we've ever really seen in terms of like these hills that come around here and like the roads and stuff. What was the process of like bringing that idea to life? Was it like a challenging process, or did it sort of like come together quite quickly?
No, challenging, I would say. Split Vision had that idea from day one, and if you know anything about Split Vision, he is not shy about trying to develop a difficult idea or do something that is not easy. And originally, he'd just been focusing on the landscaping, the sloped grass CTRs, and then eventually he got to the streets, and it really developed a lot. And frankly, Kinos, Real Steel, helped him a lot because he was having a little bit of trouble with some of the rendering to get it to match the RCT look.
Yeah, it's
So
a huge
Kinos
challenge.
actually did it. Yeah, he did help him a lot, and that was one of my plans coming into this season, was to get guys with those unique skill sets. So it was really good, not just in this park, but throughout the season. When someone had a little bit of trouble with something, you know, we had Kinos there to help, we had Levis there to help, and yeah, we had a lot of potential to problem solve and come up with creative solutions throughout the season. And yeah, no, the roads, the slope landscaping, some of it's a little hidden. In fact, we talked about if you go up to the top hill at the back of the map, yeah, there's actually a pretty extensive amount of sloped landscaping. If you, I don't know, you'd have to, if you make the vegetation and scenery invisible, yeah, you can kind of see it
I can definitely
back
see some of
there.
it here.
But yeah, no, that's about 5, 6 tiles high worth of the sloped landscaping. Yeah, there you go. And you can even see the path. It didn't quite line up perfectly. Again, we did have a little bit of a time crunch in the end. But yeah, no, it was pretty remarkable. There you can see the peep walking up it. That's pretty cool. So yeah, it did end up a little unfinished looking, but still, I think that
That's the price of
really
being the first to
exceptional
do
work.
something, though, isn't it? Like if you're like a
Yeah,
pioneer in
yeah,
something, you've kind of got to take the hit on, you know, making those
yeah.
mistakes, and everyone else gets the benefit from it afterwards.
Plus the competition deadline that we were right up against. And yeah, no, overall, really thought it was great work, especially Ball Pit Warrior. If you go off to the left to the Fisherman's Wharf area, yeah, that's pretty much all his work. And we really watched him develop very quickly into a custom scenery player. In fact, when he had finished this area with a few days left in the deadline, I said, guess what? You're a dual game player now because this is exceptionally good work.
Yeah.
Greatest work there is, not quite. It still has a little bit more refining it could have, but he really stepped up. I think BPW is going to be a force to come in this game. Really
I
solid
certainly
park
hope
maker,
so.
great guy.
Want to see
All
more.
these guys, my whole team, I really had a great season. In fact, only our teams, Sammy, only our teams went all season with no replacements. You know what that means? Great
Best
team
teams.
chemistry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got
yeah,
it.
we're the two best teams. Yeah. So
That I can
yes,
agree on from my perspective. Lonely Hearts Club, great chemistry, great synergy.
yeah, you guys seem like a good bunch of guys.
Your team
Yeah,
does as well. It would have been good to be a hurricane, I think. Um,
yeah.
but maybe it's me who makes teams win, and all he needed was me to. If only he drafted me,
Well, I'm sure JK helps too. I trained him well.
Now the student has become the
hurricane.
master.
3-time hurricane.
Yeah, you've got to pick up the talent, don't you? You got to get JK.
Well, I couldn't this season because he was a captain. I was kind of like, I would have drafted you if you weren't a captain. It's like, I want to give it a try. I was like, okay, good luck.
Let's see. I don't believe you can do it, but okay. That's what I was like. And that's what I've been like every day since. What was I going to say then? I think like your team, both you guys and the Evergreen Gardeners are like, it is heartbreaking to see you guys get sort of mathematically eliminated because you haven't put out any bad parks and neither of the Evergreen Gardeners. So it sucks to see 6 really outstanding teams with good chemistry, good parks being put out, get kicked out. So sort of like,
yeah.
I don't want to say like unceremoniously because you're obviously getting a lot of respect and everyone's like pouring the love on, but it doesn't quite feel the same as like still being in the competition. I can only presume.
Yeah. No, I got to say, especially a shout out to the Evergreen Gardeners. I mean, how they finished 4-1. If you look at their schedule, they just had to run a gauntlet of 5 of the toughest parks this season. I believe every single one of their parks scored 80% plus. So big shout out to the Evergreen Gardeners. We see you. I'll put it that way. We see you. We see your skill. We don't see the record so much because they really did great. As for my own team, I thought we also had a really fantastic season. The only thing I could say is if we could have just put in a little more time, guys, if we could have just built a little more, myself included with the museum, if we could just invested a little more time to get a little more refinement. We only missed the playoffs by a few votes. It was a little strategic. Base X was a little strategic. Because I knew we were basically our team strategy, we were loading up for a 1-2 punch in the playoffs. We moved one of our most high potential parks to the playoff park, and we had some incredible ideas for the finals park. And our plan was sort of just to sneak in the playoffs, just do the minimum to get in, and then just 1-2 punch, third Hurricanes championship. We were 2 votes shy, only 2 votes shy with this matchup. The Soda Jerks. Did you review their park yet?
They went on second, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, they didn't have to send anything in. They could have just went to the playoffs, but they took the time. They dedicated 5 of their builders to make a park. They made a good park, and it got more votes. So in the end, the Hurricanes, for the first time in our history, missed the playoffs. Prior to this, in our first 5 seasons, my worst finish was 3rd place. We had 2 first places, 1 second place, and 1 brutally close second place in H2H3, where in the best of 3 final, which I never mentioned this, by the way, never mentioned it. We lost game 1 by 1 vote. We lost game 2 by 1 vote. They had a revote, and we lost that by 1 vote. So 3 consecutive 1 vote losses. This was a 2 vote loss. So when our team was a little upset about it, I gave them a little history lesson. I said, listen, guys, this could have been worse. This could have been a championship match where we lost 2 straight to lose the championship by 1 vote every time, with a bonus lost by 1 vote. So overall, I thought we had a great season. I'm looking at this park. I can't believe we lost. It was such a close vote. I think you voted for us, right? Well, doesn't matter. But yeah, so overall, it's a little sad to be in off-season mode. We're trying to get our playoff park finished.
I really hope that you do. And I think
if we do, it's going to be something special if we get it done, and we're making some progress on it. The effort on it has been like a little bit of begrudging building. We're a little sad by the results, but I think actually when we see the playoff parks and the finals park coming up, it might motivate us a little more to get it done, and we hope that we can still make one more nice showing to represent for the. I guess this was the 6th version of the Hurricanes.
I think it says a lot about the strength of all the teams that the Hurricanes, this like historic team that's like done so much in like the history of head-to-head, to be knocked out. It's less a description of the like weakness of the Hurricanes and way more a strength of the entire community. Because like I say, there was no bad showings. There's been no bad showings. And a lot of it is like you were saying about the Evergreen Gardeners. A lot of it is like the luck of the draw and like the bad luck side of things and the fortunate side of things. I feel like every team that's sort of in the playoffs now has experienced luck, just as much as the time commitment, talent commitment, and like strategic decisions made. Just as much as that, there is like a big luck element. So, you guys, Hurricanes, like, please don't be leaving this competition thinking, "Oh, we're such idiots who are bad at the game." I'm sure none of you guys are thinking that.
Yeah, no, Sammy. We're not hanging our heads or anything like that. We're still pretty proud of our effort. By the way, if you want,
you should be.
Zoom in on Park a little bit. Just maybe if we could take a quick look around. You know what some of the members of the team did is we actually went out and bought Ghirardelli chocolate, and we're eating it to like try to boost our chances.
You're trying to manifest the victory.
I literally made it a homework assignment. I said, guys, I'm your captain. I'm also a teacher. I'm giving you homework. Buy and eat Ghirardelli chocolate. It will help us win. So in the end, I just think we didn't eat enough chocolate. That's why we lost.
I think that's probably it. Yeah.
Yeah. But the coasters, actually Terry was more or less the main coaster builder on this. He did a lot of the custom supports, some pretty creative custom supports. If you notice on the suspended coaster, the single rail, it's more or less got like a little bit of chocolate decoration.
I was looking at that. Yeah, it's really, really interesting.
Yeah. And, you'll appreciate this comment, this perspective. Did this give you a little bit of a flashback, a little deja vu to sea bass?
Yeah, there are like flashes of sea bass. Like we've got
this reminded me so much of sea bass parks.
Why is that? Like why is it like giving that vibe? Is it like the sort of serenity of it, do you reckon?
Yeah, it's kind of that, and it's not over detailed because his work was always very subtle. It was always just presented kind of in that like comic map style. Someone's listening to this and they don't know who Seabass is. That's CBASS, capital B, lowercase c. Look him up on the Park Maker page. Check out his parks. Seabass was considered one of the best in the game to this day. We've never had anyone really build at that sort of sea bass style, and I thought this was so close to that. And I was a little disappointed when everyone was saying like, "Oh, there's not enough detail. There's not enough detail." Well, there's different styles. I would have appreciated if there was a little more respect for this kind of subtle style. I'll admit it did look a little rushed. I guess you could say it was a rushed style and not a subtle style, but everybody interprets it differently. And then over by the bridge there was some really nice landscaping over there, and we got about
Right here.
1/5 of the San Francisco Bay Bridge. And don't forget to show the
Oh yeah, good lord.
far the miniatures. What they're supposed to represent, what is in the distance. Actually, it's not so much like flashbacks or just vignettes. It's actually supposed to be geographically what would be in the distance if you could keep scrolling backwards. And we didn't have a 60/60 tile limit. In fact, here, if you wait a moment, there's actually a miniature train that's going to go by the stadium. I don't know how long that'll take. I feel like every round, me and you are waiting for some sort of Hurricane Park effect, like the coaster with.
There it goes.
There we go. There it goes. And this, you get the sound effect in game. And then Alcatraz and the Bay Bridge, no, the Golden Gate Bridge. Alcatraz. Alcatraz is
So
back
cool.
in H2H. You remember we did have Alcatraz last season.
Train going underneath it as well.
No, you can't see the train. Don't
I
worry
can't.
about it. It's
Okay.
not there. It doesn't swim underwater. Because last season, and in fact, we've got one of the builders on the team was. Oh yeah, and there's the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. But yeah, Alcatraz, Big Shooter Gill did X Games Alcatraz with Salaki and Walto last season. That was a lot of fun. So Alcatraz has been quite well represented in H2H the last couple of years. And there you can see the go-karts. If we had a little more time and a little more, because hacking-wise, it would have been a challenge because there's some limitations on the go-karts. We might have tried to do go-kart traffic throughout the entire map. We were talking about doing that, but again, we just didn't quite have time to get into it. And we actually probably would have had to make a custom CTR and sort of, dissect and rebuild the game a little bit, which our team was somewhat up to doing.
Yeah, if any team was going to do it, I feel like it would have been the Hurricanes.
Yeah,
Got the skill set there.
Yeah. That's my phone. Sorry about that. 1 second, Sammy.
That's okay. It's really good that we still get parks which take these like big swings, like with the what do you call it? The slope.
Sorry about that.
Some
It was
track
a
coach.
spam call.
Damn. That's why I keep getting calls from Manchester, and I just know that it's like, you always know that it's spam because it's someone that you don't know first and foremost, and they don't send you a text or anything saying like, "Hey, we're from the company," like, or something like that. They just keep ringing me, so we know that they're up to no good.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else the guys would want me to point out. We've all gone on vacation since the season ended. As they say in professional sports, you've gone fishing. So some guys went fishing.
Got to be done. You fought a hard contest so far, and everyone else who's still building is very much wishing they were on vacation. I can tell you that for free.
Oh no! Hey, listen. I mean, remember last season I was a tile inspector. I know I'm considered a hurricane through and through, but I did have a little adventure with the tile inspectors last season. We were gassed. I mean, whichever team, especially the team that comes in second place, playoff park push, finals park push, guys have got to be exhausted right now.
Yeah.
I'm sure they are. Because this is a lot of work. It's a lot of pressure. It's a 3-year contest. This is our Olympics. This is our Olympic.
Yeah, we should have an opening ceremony every head-to-head.
There might be some logistics issues with that, especially with an actual like flaming torch.
Yeah, it might be difficult. We've not yet got the relevant evergreen gardeners on the talkback, so organizing a opening ceremony might be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I'd like to see the Gardeners back next season.
Me too. Like,
I think
what a team and what a bunch of
arguably
parks.
he should get a shot at revenge. And I don't know, like I told you, I retire at the end of every season. So will I be a captain, or will I even apply for captain H2H11? To be determined. We'll see. A lot can happen in 3 years.
Yeah, I do hope in maybe,
I
you
might
know, 18 months or 2 years we get another head-to-head classic or something like that, because that was such a fun competition as well.
Oh, yeah, no, that was fun. H2H Classic. Yeah,
We love it.
we get
We love
H2H Classic. We need you to stream those parks. We do another H2H Classic because it's been great. Not just you, Cedar Point 6 with his reviews. Oh, and a big thank you to you and him and everyone that's posting. Even our own X97 with Guess the Builder. No, a huge.
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess this is my goodbye. This is my goodbye to H2H here, and I got to thank the whole community, everyone that's helping with the extra contest, fantasy matchups, pick 'em, all that. I've tried to keep up with all of it, but it's tough. I had a blast. I really enjoyed this season. I did whine like a little baby for a short time when this park was being voted on, but then I kind of I talked to my team. We had a little team huddle. We had a little team talk, and we've actually been in pretty good spirits. There was a little negativity early on, but man, we all kind of had that realization, like, hey, we got nothing to be upset about. We put out our best effort, and yeah, no, we leave this contest with our heads held high. Everybody knows we started great, 2-0, and I think people can sort of appreciate, the strategy, even doing a 2-week park, uh, which turned out to be a good move since we were up against Scream Easy, which is my number one park this season. That was incredible. So big thank you to you, Sammy, and everyone in the community. And if you don't have to curse me out leaving the stream, that would be nice. That would be. You don't have to do that every time.
Do I? And well, first and foremost, thank you so much for your kind words. Really, really generous of you. It's good to know that that it's appreciated. And I 100% agree. Cedar Point 6's videos fantastic as well, and I feel like that it'll show in time that at least I hope this is. I believe this is the case, that the Cedar Point 6, like what Cedar Point 6 is doing now, is I feel like a really smart thing to get more like casual players introduced to the more like fanatical community, to like the head-to-head to like the NE side of things, because on the one hand he's doing these park reviews, and when he's not doing that, he's doing let me renovate your ride videos, or he's doing his like scenario playthroughs. And those are, if people go on and see, these scenario playthroughs are really cool, and he's got like a realistic eye to stuff, as like his profession really helps him out. And then they watch like a review, the inevitable review of this park, and they think, whoa, this is really cool, such full of such like interesting novel ideas. And they join the community. That's going to be a good for all of us. And I want to say as well, great job as captain for like getting out these parks, and I sincerely hope that all you guys do finish up your playoffs parks, your finals parks, those ones that you've been working on behind the scenes and like tactically like gearing up for. I feel like it'd be a real shame to I know the motivation goes away, like if you're not like in the running to be like a victor, but I really do hope that we get to see more from your builders, because you've got such a strong team.
there has been some recent building on it. There could be a little more building. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But
Well,
yes, no. Thank you again, and yeah, I really appreciate the effort of my team all season, and thank you guys. I'm sure they'll hear this interview eventually. But yeah, no, we've mostly gone fishing at this point. We're,
well,
yeah,
bless you. Well-deserved break
taking a break. Yes, a
for such a
well-deserved break.
hard-working team, and absolute pleasure to have, gone up against your team with like my team and stuff. And thank you for giving us such a fantastic competition, because it wouldn't be possible without all the teams, and that's just the cold hard truth of the whole thing. So congratulations, condolences, and lots of love. That being said,
Thank you, Sammy. Thank you, Sammy. I'm gonna get the hell off your stream now.
Okay then. See you later, baby. Thank you for everybody for coming. Thank you for everybody for coming and making the vibe so cool, and to check out these parks. You'll be able to check it out on YouTube. I'll probably be able to get it out sooner than the last one, because I don't have to build a park this time. And lots of love, and just a huge thank you to the whole community. There's only one reason why we're all here. Lots of love, lots of love.